Alright, everybody. Thank you for clicking the video and tuning in. My name's Cody. I'm going to be your host, and the layout of this podcast is I'm going to try to have a different guest every week. Obviously, my friends, family, whomever I feel like can offer some, some good stuff. This is Gary. I believe everybody has seen him. His real name's Gary Sun. He's a really good friend of mine, and I wanted to have him on here. He's the first guest in the new studio because this is going to be an officially weekly occurrence of having podcasts. So hopefully y'all will keep coming back and tuning in as it grows. For instance, there will be real microphones and way better audio than what we got right now, but you got to start somewhere. So one of the first topics I wanted to get into today was I wanted to talk about just kind of, are you like ready for this fall deer season, or is it just me?
No, I'm super excited about this fall. Doing some new things, just joined a new deer camp, kind of created a new one. And last year it was definitely the first year. You can really tell we didn't hunt the hardest. We did more camp life stuff and just getting land figured out and getting everything ready. And this year I'm very excited to actually hit the woods and really hunt.
Oh yeah, no, I am too. So I started this YouTube channel the fall of 22, and I gained 3,000 subs in my first year, and I have been just kind of stuck. I've gained 1,400 in the past 2.5 since then. I hurt my arm for the following deer season. That really hurt things, and then I had a really good season this past year, although the video views just weren't very good, which is what it is there. But that was one of the funnest seasons I think I've ever had. And as we're gearing up for the 2025-26 deer season, I think it's going to be stellar. I mean, we about got all this camera stuff figured out. I mean, we got the deer killing figured out. Well, Gary may not, but that's because he forgets to load his gun and such.
Yeah. Last season was pretty tough for me. It was. Everybody has that year, and I had it last year.
Hey, I had a mistake last year.
Yeah.
And I had 2 mistakes. As a matter of fact, so get this, guys. Out of my friends, I'm like the one who's like absolutely psychotic about hunting and fishing. Okay, like I just love it. And then I found out, if I film this stuff, is it a possibility that one day maybe I could just focus on that stuff and creating content? Well, so anyways, that has started a whole new journey for me, which has been extremely fun. But let me see. Last year, I was hunting the biggest buck. It's not the biggest buck that I ever had on the property, but probably the one that was showing up the most. And I'm still learning because how to play the wind. We'll get into that conversation some other time about all that goes into it. But at the beginning of October, this cool front came in, and so it went from 90s to like early high 60s, low 70s temperatures. So I was like, he's gonna show up in the morning. I got out there super early, got in my stand. There was deer all around me that whole morning. I had my bow hanging right in front of me. And all of a sudden, so important to note, all these does, they walk this draw below me and kind of circle downwind to come up. Well, there's a 4-wheeler trail that cuts right through. I just hear sticks breaking, leaves crunching, and I'm like, if that's not a buck, because every deer I've seen come through here, not one has come down this trail. Sure enough, I see his rack, and I haven't had buck fever literally since I was about 8 years old, and I literally don't even know what I was aiming at. I think I shot at a leaf or something. My scope was zoomed in too much. I don't know. But anyways, I've not had buck fever since then. I mean, I've been pumped up and fired up. Anyways, as this buck's coming in, crunch, 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 my bow's hanging there. I think my jaw was probably literally open, and shock was just like, oh shit, he's actually here right now. I don't think I can perform.
You wanted that buck so bad.
I did. I had talked about him all ever since I found him. So like in late August is when I found out he was there. I was made a loop. All right, so he had 2 kickers coming off his left eye guard. And he's literally 10 yards from me. And the ground, it looked like hog sign. I mean, these bucks, there was all sorts of bucks in there. And he starts working a scrape. And I'm still like, I can't believe this deer is right in front of me. And mistake number 1, I did not clear shooting lane right here. There's still leaves on the tree. His vitals were in a gap, probably about 1.5 by 1.5 feet. And I'm like, oh, I can make that shot. I ease my bow up. And so like, I don't know how much time has passed. It feels like an eternity before I even picked my bow up. If I'd have picked it up and been ready, it would have been all she wrote. But anyways, I picked my bow up. Just as I start to pull back, I feel literally the wind shift. He obviously caught my scent. He jumps into the woods, like literally looked like a rabbit jumping. Stopped just on the other side of the wood line. He's still within 15 yards, but there's nothing I can do. Stands there. Walks a big circle because the wind shifts back, walks downwind of me, and then proceeded to blow at me. And I've had does blow at me 1,000 times. It was him, 100%. And it took him a month before he even came back. So, and I ended up not getting him, but that's okay.
I'll go ahead and talk about the click. It was like late gun season. It might have even been the Christmas hunt. I think it was the Christmas hunt, the doe only.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm out there at deer camp, and we're kind of just done for the year. It'd be nice to have another, but everybody's got all the meat they want. It's not a big deal if we don't get nothing. And we all rode in together, and we're picking out stands. This little place we're at, there's 3 stands we can go to, and me and a buddy just decided we'll sit in the same stand together. Whatever happens, happens. And it's getting dark and it's cold, and I had the old Dirty 30 with me. Love him. But when I put my gun in the truck, I always empty it. Well, I loaded it up, took off walking, got in the stand, sat there. Finally started getting dark. Here come a doe up. And I thought, I'll let my buddy shoot. It's just a doe. Whatever. Well, here comes another one and another one. So now we're kind of like, well, you take the front one, I'll take the back one. I couldn't see the back one, so I was like, I'll get the middle one and see if you can just swing around and catch the back one. So we both lined up, and we're like, well, all right, let's count it down. 1, 2, 3, boom, click. I never racked one. And I mean, shot that gun 1,000 times. Just never thought, hey, need to rack one. Just too busy talking.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of things, deer camp, I feel like, is not always about killing deer.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, I don't go to deer camp necessarily to kill deer. That's a good bonus to me as far as gun season. Now, if I'm going up bow hunting and stuff, that's kind of a different story.
Yeah.
Typically in bow season, everybody's just kind of in and out of camp at will, muzzleloader. There's a little bit more. But then opening weekend of gun season comes in. Pretty much all across the United States, whatever state you're in, that night before opening gun season is an absolute, it's hard to describe, really. It's a beautiful thing, is all I can say.
It's everything from getting rowdy and playing, like at our deer camp, we play a lot of music. We have us a big fire, eat so good, always cook so good. It's a whole bunch of guys. It's amazing how good we eat. A lot of meat and potatoes, but that's the best.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that first night, nobody sleeps, and then you get up and it's crisp.
You get up and it's cold. Ours is typically the second week in November-ish. It's typically when, second weekend or whatever that gun season opens. Sometimes the third, but, you get up, you're full of anticipation. You know, you get your orange vest and your orange beanie. You know, your best friends who never hunt or don't have time to hunt, they make time on gun season because it's a little easier to kill. You know, your girlfriend, your wife, whomever, you know, wants to go with you. And, you know, kids get to go, your nieces, nephews, if you have children. I mean, it's loads of fun. You know, people who don't get it just never will. And then, of course, I'm on a dog hunting deer lease, so we hunt about the first 2 hours, and then it goes down. Is all I can say, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that opening morning, growing up, it was always, let's go to the cabin, and it's my grandpa, my uncle, my dad, all my cousins, my mom and sister and brother and grandma, everybody's up there.
Oh yeah.
And like we eat good and then wake up early and then never like waking up for work and anything, you're always sluggish.
Yeah.
That opening morning,
It's
you're wide
amazing. You
awake.
go to bed at 3 a.m., then wake up at 5 and be
You're up.
You're up. Like, it's crazy.
And then just my grandpa doesn't walk down in the woods no more, but me, my dad, and my uncle just creep off down the hills, and then we just split off, and that's special.
It is special.
That is special.
You know, growing up, we had a deer camp, and it was friends, and I was just a little kid, you know, and I got to go up there on occasion. You know, I didn't get the full experience, but I got enough. There was one night all the adults were having a poker game, okay? And, you know, a lot of y'all don't know me. I can be a little, I can be a bit of a jokester, if you will. I go around the table, and I look at everybody's cards, and I go back to this one fella, and I said, hey, this is your hand. You need to go all in. Well, he believed me for whatever reason. and I'm probably, I mean, I'm 8 or 9. I mean, I'm not very old. I don't even know all the hands. I still have to Google it to this day. Well, he goes all in and loses. Now, I mean, it was just like change, nickels, dimes, and pennies, I think. But he was... I think I fell to the bottom of his little hierarchy list on that one, boys. That's where I earned the nickname Mr. Go All In.
Yeah, we never played cards, but grit, them old westerns. It'd be the Andy Griffith Show, come on at 7:30, go off at 8. And then a good western, normally a John Wayne, would come on. And we'd get about 30 minutes into it, right when it was getting good. And Papa would just click the TV off. All right, time to go to bed.
Closing time.
Yeah, and you did.
Oh, yeah.
There was no arguing. You went to bed.
Yeah.
It was over.
Man, that's good stuff. You know, looking back on it, I've had a ritual. I've always yearned for a camp atmosphere, you know. Even on the youth hunts, I remember as a child. Now, I am old enough. I'm going to show my old age here. You know, in my day, when I was a youth getting into hunting, you know, the hunting public, Midwest whitetail, none of that was a thing. I had Realtree monster bucks in Drury Outdoors. So what I would do is and my mom had these collection of Bass Pro mugs. So for my little ritual I had when I had no camp, I would make chocolate milk, put it in my big camo, you know, Bass Pro mug, and then I would go turn on DVD and watch, you know, usually Monster Bucks, because that was my favorite, and get fired up for the next morning. I'm also a little twisted because on occasion I would also watch Open Season to get fired up, which is totally against hunting, but it is what it is. I'm a little twisted, I guess.
Open Season got watched at the cabin. Open Season and Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs. I don't know how many times we watched it. Nothing to do with hunting.
Yeah.
We had the DVD, and that's all that TV would take. It was satellite, 3 channels, or Ice Age.
That's good stuff. Man, it's a special thing, which now, on my deer lease, it's my sister and her family, my brother-in-law, nieces and nephews. I go up there and spend time with them and run deer dogs, and there is pretty good hunting up there. I'm mainly in it for the deer dogs, but And of course, I take my girlfriend out, and that's a lot of fun watching her get into hunting and kill deer. What?
This guy
What?
taking the girlfriend out.
Hey, if she'll go hunting with me, if she wants to go, we'll go. I've been wanting to get her a crossbow, and she just ain't that committed.
I don't know.
Man, yeah. I'm ready for, speaking of deer camp, I'm going to be rough. I ain't going to say I'm roughing it, but I'll tell you kind of my layout for my camp this year. I bought a pop-up last year, and it was a pretty bad investment, to tell you the truth. And it's honestly probably usable. However, I kind of want to set it on fire and never look at it again. Because the last time not the last time I seen it, but when I hauled it to deer camp, my truck got stuck, and it got stuck, and I had to walk like 2 miles to somebody's house to get a tractor to pull me out, and it was just a bad night. So I'm just ready to burn it. I'm going to buy a tent that you can put a wood stove in. I'm going to get, like a queen size air mattress, put some memory foam on it, and that's going to be my base camp for the duration of deer season. And it's like $200 versus a camper.
Yeah, deer camp. Growing up, before this deer camp with my friends, we have this nice little hunting cabin. It's older than I am, but there's an upstairs that's kind of like my family sleeps upstairs. And so there's beds, and it's always been nice. But this last year at the deer camp with the friends, there's one camper. We all pile in it. So I'm sleeping on a smaller than a twin bed with Blaine, which is fine because Blaine ain't very big, but nice when it's cold.
You get to snuggle when it's cold. Hey. Well, you ought to look into it. I mean, them tents I'm talking about ain't very expensive. You can put a little wood stove in them and, get you a blow-up mattress. And I've been reading all kinds of reviews on them. Most of them have lasted several months. So, because I plan on putting it up in probably October and taking it down in probably the last day of gun season. So,
yeah. I don't know. We're wanting to make some changes out there. Really get it. It's pretty rough. Like, it's nice enough for us. It's just a bunch of 20-something-year-olds. So, it's nice enough for us, and nobody complains about sleeping on the ground. But eventually, if we can keep it going, we're going to try to make it nice. But
like building a cabin? Would y'all build a cook shack out there?
There was already a cook shack out there, and it was in pretty rough shape. But we got it. We put a lot of work into it and got it nice gravel floor, brand new wood stove. Well, not brand new, but a good wood stove. It's nice enough to sleep in if you had a cot.
See, that's kind of what, up at turkey camp and stuff. I'm like, man, this cook tent, I could sleep in here. You get a little, even a buddy heater, it heats up better than you would think. Now, granted, we're talking 40 and 50 degree nights versus 20, 30 degree nights. Yeah. But, also they make good sleeping bags. I'm young enough right now. When I get old and need one, I'll buy a better camper.
Yeah. When I get old and hopefully have money one day, we'll have some real nice things.
All right, let's get into another topic here. Let's see, what all have we even covered? Deer camp life and some of our blooper hunts.
Yeah. Let's get into bow hunting.
Well, you want to talk about bow hunting? Take it away.
I don't know. I've started a couple of years ago, started with a recurve. Had the absolute worst and best hunt of my life with that recurve. First time really climbing a tree. When I hunt, it's always been gun hunting, sitting on the ground, sitting up against a tree. And that year, I got a recurve for Christmas. And so I thought, I'm going to bow hunt next year. And got practiced up with it. I was good out 15 yards, which is all really a recurve can do. And being younger and not knowing much, I was comfortable at 15. And I was out on a buddy's place. They were gracious enough to let me hunt out there, and buddy put me in a really good spot. And this nice little 8-point come in, absolutely perfect right in front of me. He stopped about 20, 30 yards out and bedded down. Well, I'm up in this tree, and I have this old climber. Like, it was my dad's when he was my age, and I'm just young 20s, and Dad is not. He's up there. So this thing is ancient, and it is heavy, and I've hauled it, and it is heavy. And it's not exactly the safest thing in the world. So I'm only about 15 foot up this tree, and this deer, I don't know, it was perfect. Like, never looked up at me, never winded me. Bedded down, stayed there 45 minutes, an hour, and I'm in this rickety old climber just shaking. He come in just perfect, right to my left, exactly what I wanted. 7 yards out, right over his back. Sitting there, I wanted to jump, like, just knife him, but I had another arrow, went to grab it, dropped it, and that deer just never was bothered, just walked off like nothing was even there. But this past year, Cody was gracious enough to let me borrow one of his old bows, and I got really practiced up with it and just never had the opportunity. Nothing ever came in, and I did start climbing a little higher, feeling a little more comfortable, but we'll just see what happens. I need to get out and start shooting.
Yeah.
It's that time.
I need to shoot my bow. I shoot a Bear Cruiser G3. The reason I like it, so I shot one of the old diamonds that they came out with. That's the bow Gary's talking about. I shot since I was 14. It's fully adjustable. You can adjust the draw length and the poundage and all that on your own. So I went with kind of the same thing, but way lighter setup. And I knocked off 2 deer with it. And, at 20, I'm not really shooting past 20 just because, like I said, it really needs tuned up, and I'm not an expert on that. But my bow hunting journey, man, started, there's no telling, really. I remember pointing at a bow. This was before my mom and stepdad got together, so we're talking before first grade. I pointed at a bow in a catalog, and my mom bought it. Well, I had no idea how to take care of a bow, that you needed to put wax on the string. And so when Sean was a big bow hunter, that's my stepdad, I guess, my string was fraying on my bow, so I had taken duct tape and wrapped it all individually around all my strings, and he's like, yeah, we'll just get rid of that. And he ended up, I think I shot his old bow for a minute, and then I got this diamond and had it ever since. And I hunted hard. I remember, oh man. So I am living School of Hard Knocks is what I am. I will make every mistake you can ever make. So like I said, I've watched Monster Bucks and everything. Everybody knows when you're stopping deer, you go, meh. Okay, so get this. I'm up in a buddy stand, me and my stepdad. We're up at deer camp. And this button buck walks directly under the stand. He's like, take him. And I'd barely killed. I don't even know if I had killed a deer at that point, really. So anyways, the deer's walking, and I go, meh. Well, this deer looks right up at me, right? And I just go like this, trying to pull my bow back. And and there was also a deer behind the tree. Anyways, the deer just scattered, and that was the end of that. Fast forward, the next opportunity I remember having with the bow, we were in a ground blind back at my grandpa's land. It was me, Sean, I think my stepbrother Ethan may have been in the blind. It was a pretty big ground blind. This doe walked out, and I don't know that I did anything wrong during the hunt, but trying to get drawn back, she knew something wasn't right. She ran away. Well, anyways, I went and put my bow, leaned it against the coffee table. I didn't have a quiver, so I just had my broadheads on my arrows, laid them against the thing, bumped the table. Arrows fell, sliced my string. So I've done just about everything you can do to mess up when it comes to bow hunting. When I was 14, I finally got my first deer with a bow. Thought it was a doe. It was getting dark. Turned out to be a spike. Don't really care. that thing, it didn't go 20 yards. It was pretty impressive, honestly. I made a really good shot on it. But so I mean, for what it is there, probably 11, 12, maybe 10 when I started hunting with a bow, and I was 22 years old when I got my first rack deer. So bow, and let me tell you something, it rekindled my love for deer hunting. Really, I mean, I'm fired up. It's late June right now. I'm fired up thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy that happened. And people buck shame, and I don't understand that because everybody's hunting journey is different. Who are we to judge somebody that works, Monday through Friday, has 2 weekends a year? If he can only hunt during a 3-week gun season, gets six, or that'd be 6 days at max, and you're gonna be like, you killed that thing. I can't stand people.
Yeah, rack hunting's never been a big deal to me. Like, how I look at hunting is you can't eat the antlers. Yeah, they look cool on the wall and they're cool in the pictures and cool to be like, hey, look at what I killed. But at the same time, we're eating.
Exactly.
Like, it's now we don't have to buy beef or chicken. We have this deer meat that'll last until summer, and then we start fishing.
Exactly.
Like, it's a great.
I'm just now running low on deer meat.
Yeah, I think we still have some.
I have plenty of steak. I got some thawed out. I'm about to cook.
But yeah, still looking for my first bow deer.
Listen, it should light a fire in you, about like your first turkey. Gary got his first turkey this past turkey season, and I guarantee you he's hooked for life now.
Yeah, first time turkey hunting. It was kind of a rough weekend. Did some things that I couldn't ever imagine having to do, but we got it done.
Them Arkansas birds are different. I missed my Arkansas bird this year. I killed one in Missouri, but we'll go back to the deer hunting. Once you kill, all right, guys, seizure alert.
Electrician.
He gets it. Now I lost my train of thought.
Let's talk about the heat of last year. That was a big play. That was a big factor.
The heat, how hot it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last year was, I don't know about historically, but in my memory, one of the hotter deer seasons I've been a part of, really. And I will say this, it seemed like gun season was pretty crappy, I can't lie.
Yeah.
As far as deer should have been on their feet, moving, they really weren't.
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of morning hunts, but there were some morning hunts where, you thought you're out there in a t-shirt, and it's like, what are we doing? It's November, and here I am sitting on the ground in a t-shirt, and just nothing's moving, and everything's just threw everything off. It was the weirdest year I've had, just trying to pattern deer and how they're moving. It was mainly they were just moving at night, and it's hard to just catch them right there at last light.
Yeah, you got to catch them when they're going to bed the next morning, and that's a scary place to be as a deer hunter when you're struggling with deer movement and, the weather is not cooperating. They're moving at night. You got to try to get in between them and their bedding, and then on the evening hunts, yeah. You're going to spook the deer when you're leaving because they're coming out right at dark. And it's just, it can be a mess, and you can educate some deer, and it gets hard to. I got lucky. So, my schedule's a little more liberal. I'm a nurse, so, I work 3 off 4 typically, especially during deer season. I'm not usually picking up extra, and I work a swing shift, so I go in at 10. So, if it's a cool November morning, I'll go get me a quick hunt in. If I do kill one, it should be fine laying there, or I can gut them, or I can graciously find somebody to help me out. It's one of those things. If I'm not gonna go shoot a doe before work, but if a nice buck comes out, you better believe. Or I might just ask forgiveness from my boss. I felt feverish.
Yeah, there were a couple mornings driving to school where I was like, college, sitting in the woods.
Oh yeah. I was in micro during bow season, and I will tell you this: on the day of October 2nd, I'll never forget it. When my target buck got by me at 10 steps, I did skip school that day to go deer hunting.
Yeah.
But, my grades were decent enough I could get away with it, and I didn't make a habit of it and blah, blah, blah. But I'm willing to sacrifice some things to get a deer. I can tell you that. I mean, this is why I live. I don't know. It's just good stuff.
Yeah, last year with the heat and everything, it seemed like the food sources were thrown off.
Bad acorns.
Yeah. It was just really hard. Like, that's how I normally hunt. That's how grew up learning was find your oak trees, get in there, sit down in them, and they'll come to you. And then with the bad acorns, it was just that the deer weren't coming out to me, and I had to put in more time, and I didn't have the time to put in.
Yeah, there was quite the drought last year. However, I'm pretty optimistic about this season because we've been getting rain out the ass.
Yes.
So we ought to have a good acorn crop, I would think. One of the things I like to target early season is persimmon trees. I got a cool video of a pretty nice buck in late August. Now, last year I didn't even bother hunting the early buck hunt. I probably will this year. Bucks are easier to kill on their summer pattern. So this buck hunt is almost not even, they call it a velvet hunt. Whatever. You can kill one buck here in the state of Arkansas. Second year they've ever done it. I almost feel like it ain't fair. Geez, these deer are very easy to pattern, and baiting's legal in Arkansas, and I'll bait. I ain't ashamed to say it, and those deer aren't really as worried. You can get a nice buck come in and just pop them.
Yeah, and a lot of the times they're still running in their group.
Yeah, and they're in a bachelor group, and
so they're not really worried about anything.
I may or may not. I probably will if I got some good ones on cam. I don't know. To be determined. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about the velvet hunt. It is a good opportunity, for people that can't travel to these other states to have an opportunity to get a buck in velvet. But a lot of times, most of the bucks have already shed velvet by, the end of the week, week of September. But, it is what it is. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say I won't do it because there's a good chance I will.
Yeah, you keep mentioning your cameras, using your cameras. How I grew up hunting, my grandpa and uncle used cameras, and just kind of had a general idea of what we had on the place. But me and Dad, we always said we'd go off the hill, and we did. Up there, we'd just drop off the hill, and it was whatever walked out. Back then there was the antler limit for him, and I was a youth. So I think I hunted with my dad till I was 12. And we'd sit there and whatever walked up,
got it. Yeah. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Good Lord, I didn't even consider letting a rack deer go until, I was probably 19, 20. And even then, I ain't even going to say that. I don't have the rack in here at this moment, but the first deer I ever killed on camera, you can go back and look, was probably year and a half year old 6-point that had good potential, not anymore. And which there's different factors that go into why I shoot the deer I shoot. For instance, on that one, you're so busy with I was busy in nursing school and things like that. So, like I said, I'm not going to judge somebody for what they shoot because sometimes it's based off the time you have to hunt. If you only have a couple days a year to hunt because of life, children, kids, whatever it may be, shoot whatever. Unless you're my neighbor. No, I'm just kidding. It is what it is. I'm not gonna get angry at you. Don't be angry at other people and shame people. It's just like I'm on. There's all these Facebook hunting pages, and it's really sickening to see how people make these things a competition. That's not why. That shouldn't be why you hunt. I mean, obviously, people do it for sport. Okay, that's fine. I hope you're eating the meat. I do it because, yes, it's fun. It's one of the funnest things on this earth. I also enjoy eating the meat. I butcher the deer myself. With my family or whatever, we all do it. But that should be why you hunt. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't be just looking at horns. And if you want to kill a big buck, I'm not saying let all these tiny ones go, but I don't know. Buck shaming is one of those things I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and it is ridiculous. I mean, let people shoot what they want to shoot, whether it's a 80-year-old man or 40-year-old, 30, 20. I mean, the old guy in plaid that walks around the woods like Elmer Fudd. Who cares? Let him shoot what he's going to shoot, because most likely he doesn't have that much time. If he's walking around like that, clearly he's not had much guidance. Just let him have his moment. It is not that big of a deal. And what drives me crazy is half the time these deer are not even anywhere close to where you're ever going to hunt. So it affects you absolutely zero. But sorry. I get fired up about that.
Yeah, I'm always happy just being in the woods.
Yeah.
Shooting.
Well, as we kind of wrap up this podcast, I want to thank you for listening. I think we're each going to share one of our favorite hunt stories. I'm going to go ahead and let Gary take it away.
Yeah, so probably my favorite is it was a Friday, second week, and me and my dad were late getting up to the cabin. I was young. I was young enough I still would go to sleep in the woods young. And it was a nice evening, and my brother had taken my dad's 30-30 out. He beat us up there, so he got the rifle, and my dad had this 12 gauge that he was going to use, and I just went with him. And we were sitting there, we were up on this hillside, and I'd dozed off, sleeping, and I hear this absolute freight train coming through the woods. Woke me up, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. He's fixing to kill the monster.
Mm-hmm.
And this squirrel jumped over my head, landed on my pants, turned and looked at me. And I thought right there, this is how I die.
Mm-hmm.
It's over.
Squirrel got you.
Squirrel got me. But it didn't. It jumped off me and went on down the hill. And not 10 minutes after that, this massive buck come in. And he was still pretty far from my dad using a 12 gauge. And it bedded down up against this tree. And Dad was like, all right, fixing to slip down there and put the whammy on him. So he snuck off, and nobody ever that I've seen walks in the woods like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He's like Cherokee or something. He's quiet.
He can slip through there.
Oh, yeah. And he slips down, and I guess I was old enough I had a little flip phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he texted me and was like, hit a buck grunt. Make him stand up, Well, I did, and that big buck popped right up, and Dad said he threw up, fixing to go, and I hit it again. And there was a little basket rack, like 7, just 3 on each side and a little bitty kicker. That second time I hit it, it was get down, Mr. President. Jumped right in front of him. And Dad just blowed that thing, and it took off, and it was going towards this bluff, and Dad was like, nah, we ain't gonna do that. Shot it again, and it finally just petered out and quit right there, right at the edge of this bluff. And I thought, he's killed a monster, like biggest buck he's ever killed monster.
Mm-hmm.
And we get down there, and it's this tiny little thing, and it's blown to pieces. And Dad's just looking at me like, why did you hit that ground again? But we pulled it up, carried it out. Like, I carried the gun, and he just, over his shoulders, carried it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I'll never forget that. Just the squirrel and Dad's look, the look on his face when he was like, why did you hit that grunt again?
Oh, that's good stuff. Man, my favorite hunt. Oh man. Well, I don't know if y'all can see this deer above me here, but we'll talk about him because that was my first ever rack deer, and I remember that hunt like it was yesterday. So it was youth season. I was hunting by myself. I'm not sure what the legality is, but we're past the statute of limitations for that. And I was probably, I don't know, 13, 14. I was probably 13 right before my 14th birthday because my birthday's late November. It was on the youth hunt. Got up that morning and I went to my favorite deer stand. It was actually called Cody Stand because every time I hunted, I wanted to hunt it. I get there and I mean, it's super early. So early that I can just barely see this deer walking. He was trying to slip back to his bedding area. Well, I could only see one half of his rack, so I had no idea if he had a match inside or what was going on with him. That's never stopped me before. Once that side of that rack hit the light, all I thought to myself was, well, listen here, boys. I'm still a youth. Even if he's a button buck, I ain't going to get in any legal trouble. I'm taking him down. I put my 270 right on his shoulder. Made an absolute perfect shot. Saw him fall. Went out there. My stepdad had his daughters out there that he was sitting with. So and I killed it so early. He was like, well, just hang out. We'll come get you in a little bit. I went and got my buck, drug it to the corn pile, leaned up against him, and took me a nap. Me and my deer out there. Second time I've napped with a deer after I've killed it because I was waiting on a ride, but it is what it is. That's probably be my favorite one just because, finally killed a rack deer. It was just, but I love and I can remember dang near each and every one of my hunts, so hard to say. I mean, they're all fun. I mean, obviously the rut hunts are like nothing. I'll go ahead and touch on another one. Me and Blake, my best friend, were hunting, and we're bow hunting. I was really wanting him to get a deer. And this buck came out in this field and grunted like you have never heard a buck grunt before. I mean, it was like, bah, bah. Like, it was like the longest drawn out grunts. He was chasing this doe and this yearling around the field. And finally, he got within about 40 yards, and Blake took a shot, but it was a little bit of airmail. And, anyways, that hunt was awesome. Those are probably my top favorite hunts all time. Yeah. And you can check out that hunt I'm talking about with Blake. I believe it's titled like October Lull or something like that.
Yeah. What are you going to do this year, Cody? How are you going to hunt?
How am I going to hunt? Well, I'm going to start out in bow season. I'm wanting to explore a new piece of public property, but I haven't. And I might have missed the deadline as I'm thinking of this right now to apply for a gun permit. It's usually June 15th. So that hurts. But anyways, maybe it goes to July. I'll have to check. Either way, there's some absolute monsters there. And just because they're there don't mean I'm going to be able to get one. But it would be fun to be in the ball game. But it would take some serious scouting. And I have a little bit more free time than years past. So kind of more swamp, flat habitat that I'm not used to as well. So it'd be interesting to see. And I've been to that particular piece several times doing other things, and I really never see much bow hunting pressure. I mean, I do see some, but not like you would think based off the location. So with that being said, I'm like, I'm sure on the weekends it's bumping. I don't go anywhere on the weekends public. It ain't worth it to me, but gonna do that. Get ready for gun season. I'm putting out different blinds, different places. I am gonna be a lot more selective this year. Now, after I just got on my soapbox about killing whatever you want, personally, where I've grown in my hunting, I'm gonna be selective. I doubt I kill 2 bucks. I'm not gonna say I kill a giant by any means. I mean, if any buck that's hanging on this wall probably walks out in front of me with my bow, it's going to have a bad day. Now, if I have a rifle, it'll probably have a better day. But that's just kind of where I'm at this year. I got some different spots. I'm I was thinking about doing an urban hunt, but ended up not applying just because I just didn't. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, this year I'm gonna do my normal. I say normal. I'm gonna do what I did last year, bow hunting. Just sit in the stand. Just go to where I know the trails are. Not really be super into it, but I'm gonna put some time in and just try to get one with the bow just get one down. Be my first deer with a bow. Just want to get it done. And then when gun season comes around, last year I did a lot of sitting in a stand, and I didn't work out very well. So I'm gonna go back to my roots. I'm gonna go deep in the woods, sit under a tree, play my game, and just do what I grew up doing instead of sitting over a bait.
Well, stand location is everything. I feel like you've been hunting a lot of fields.
Yeah.
I'm a hardwoods guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna hunt fields too. But man, when you find those hot spots in the timber, dude, it can be electric.
They're good.
And on my deer lease, it's timberland, so they're cutting it and everything. So I got a lot of growed up stuff. So, but even there, I got actually two. You're allowed 3 stands on this place. 2 out of my 3 are in the hardwoods.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was one day I got to hunt it where it was like a freaking freeway on a cool late October day. I mean, deer coming below me out of the draw, coming off over the mountain, left to right. I don't even know what those deer were doing. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah, that's what I want to get back to. This past few years, it's been watching fields and hasn't produced. So going back old school to what I know.
Fields can certainly produce, but man, the woods, I love the hardwoods. And I have really good hearing, so it is nice to, typically you can hear, like, a squirrel will get me from time to time, but you're really a woodsman when you can really differentiate the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you really focus, you can tell if a deer is walking up or if it's a squirrel. I do have a funny story of how I learned that lesson. If you grow up in an area where squirrels are thick, you probably have a similar story. So I'm probably 15 years old in this one. My great-grandparents were still alive. I was hunting their land. Had this ground blind by a spring, and all the deer seemed to come from straight ahead of me, right, or behind me. Well, my ground blind had a rip in it, and I didn't have a job. I couldn't buy a new one. So I put this giant rip to the left of me where I walked in from, right? And I'm sitting, and I could still sit back in the blind where if something did come that way, they couldn't see me. Well, squirrels have been driving me nuts this day. I mean, all around me, running around, and I had never killed a deer with a bow at this point, so I would have been before 14. But anyhow, I was like so angry. Well, I hear the squirrel over here just going ham. I put my bow down and I just lunge out of this blind with my face to scare the squirrel away. Well, it turns out there were 6 deer standing there looking at me, all walking in. And I still didn't get my first deer that day. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, don't make sense to me.
Don't make any sense to me. Those are the biggest squirrels I've ever seen.
Boy, squirrels and armadillos. When you can differentiate those two from a deer, you've got it made.
You got it made. All right, guys, this is going to be episode 1 of our weekly podcast. I'm Cody. I hope you enjoyed. Garrison, I want to thank you for coming and talking with me. Hope y'all got something out of this. Hope y'all are a little entertained. And stay tuned for next week. I post other content as well. Right now it's mainly fishing videos, but I'm going to have some deer scouting videos coming out soon. And obviously deer hunts this fall. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.